Section 1, Listening Comprehension. In Part A, you will hear two people having short conversations. After each conversation, you will hear a question. The conversations and questions will not be repeated. After you hear a question, read the 4 possible answers and choose the best answer. Then, find the number of the question and fill in the space that corresponds to the letter of the answer you have chosen.
Number 1.
Why are you leaving so early? The movie doesn't start till 7.
I want to beat the traffic there. It's a nightmare on the expressway during rush hour. What does the man mean? Number 2.
Excuse me, but could you tell me how to get to the Excelsior Hotel? I thought it was on this corner, but I seem to have made a mistake.
I'm sorry. Maybe you should try calling them. There's a phone over there by the candy store.
What does the woman suggest the man do? Number 3.
Can I borrow your calculus textbook? I left mine in the classroom, and it was gone when I went back.
That happened to me once. I'd almost given up on finding it until I checked at the lost and found at the information desk downstairs in the lobby.
What does the woman imply the man should do? Number 4. Did you see the diamond ring Bill gave to Linda?
I sure did. It must have cost him an arm and a leg.
What does the woman imply about the ring? Number 5.
I'm always late for my morning classes. It's because of all the traffic out near where I live.
Well, you wouldn't have that problem if you moved in toward campus. What does the man suggest the woman do? Number 6.
Jennifer's going to the shore again this weekend.
Well, she's always been a beach person.
What can be inferred about Jennifer? Number 7.
Hey, Larry, want to meet a few of us for coffee in a little while?
I would if I weren't so far behind in this reading I'm doing for history.
What will the man probably do? Number 8.
Oh man, something in this room is making my eyes itch. I must be allergic to something.
I wonder what it is.
What does the woman want to know? Number 9.
My brother's coming this weekend, and I thought the 3 of us could go out to dinner on Saturday night. Any suggestions?
It's up to you. I don't know the restaurants around here that well, so you'd know a better place to go than me. What does the man mean? Number 10. Can I get a ride into the office with you tomorrow?
Another day would be fine, but I've got to be downtown for a meeting first thing in the morning.
What does the woman imply? Number 11.
After 2 weeks of tennis lessons, I think I finally managed to improve my backhand.
Like my mom always says, practice makes perfect.
What does the woman mean? Number 12. I just heard about your acceptance into law school. Do you think you'll be able to join your brother's firm when you graduate?
Not likely. He's a tax lawyer, and I'm going to major in criminal law.
What does the woman imply? Number 13.
Could you give me a ride to the dean's office? My interview for the scholarship's in an hour.
Don't you have anything else to wear other than that sweater?
What does the woman imply? Number 14.
Well, if you're seriously considering buying a car, I'm trying to get rid of mine. All it needs is some new paint.
Thanks, but most used cars end up being more trouble than they're worth. What will the man probably do? Number 15.
Did you watch that comedy special on TV last night? I don't think I've ever laughed so hard.
Don't even talk to me about it. The only night I really wanted to watch something, and we had a power failure in my building.
What does the woman mean? Number 16. Do you think you'll be able to get this ink stain out of my pants?
It won't be a problem, but I'll need to send them over to our main cleaning facility. That's an extra day's time.
What does the woman mean? Number 17. You'll have to be a lot more persuasive if you want to convince the committee to accept your proposal.
I'm not sure what else I could say. Besides, I don't think they'll reject it.
What does the woman mean? Number 18.
I'm having trouble slicing the bread with this knife.
Oh, sorry about that. I haven't gotten around to sharpening it yet. What can be inferred about the knife? Number 19. Do you know if Sarah has reserved a room for the committee meeting yet?
No, but if she hasn't, we should have her try to get the auditorium. We'll need the space.
What does the woman want Sarah to do? Number 20.
I lost the piece of paper Laura gave me. You know, the one with her address on it.
You might be able to find it listed in the phone book.
What does the woman mean? Number 21.
I heard on the radio that not only is it going to be super hot tomorrow, but also the humidity's going way up.
Sounds like I'm going to have to find an air-conditioned place to be in.
What does the man mean? Number 22. I can't concentrate on this final report any longer. Maybe I should take a nap before we continue.
You know, they say that physical activity makes you more alert.
What does the woman imply? Number 23.
I hope you liked the novel I lent you. I wasn't sure whether it was the kind of book you'd be interested in.
You know, I had the same doubt at first, but once I started it, I simply couldn't put it down. What does the man mean? Number 24.
The museum exhibit that a professor recommended just closed. Last day yesterday.
Oh, I was really looking forward to seeing it.
What does the man mean? Number 25.
If George misses one more meeting, we're going to have to find a new committee secretary.
We'd better give him an ultimatum. What does the man suggest they do? Number 26.
Are you sure you don't mind getting the concert tickets? I wouldn't be able to pay you back until Friday, when I get paid.
No problem. I'm glad I can help, and that we'll be able to go together.
What does the man mean? Number 27. Have you heard the news? The manager posted this month's work schedule.
She did? Where?
What does the woman ask? Number 28.
Will you be living in the dormitories this year?
Not if I can help it. I've been thinking of renting an apartment off campus with some friends of mine.
What does the woman imply? Number 29. The plot of that movie was hard to follow.
It makes more sense the second time.
What can be inferred about the woman? Number 30.
I'm so soaked from the rain. I'd go back to my room to change clothes if there were more time before the performance.
I could use drying off too, but I hate the idea of missing even a few minutes of this concert.
What can be inferred about the speakers?
Part B. Directions. On this part of the test, you will hear slightly longer conversations. After each conversation, you will hear several questions. Neither the conversations nor the questions will be repeated. After you hear a question, read the 4 possible answers in this book and choose the best one. Then, on your answer sheet, find the number of the question and fill in the space that corresponds to the letter of the answer you have chosen. Remember that you cannot take notes or write on the test pages in any way.
Now we will begin Part B with the first conversation. Questions 31 through 34. Listen to part of a telephone interview.
Dr. Thomas, this is Keith Bradley from the Daily News. I'd like to ask you some questions about the new official standard weight that you purchased.
I'd be happy to help you. What would you like to know?
First of all, how is the standard weight used?
Well, the people in our department use it to check the scales all over the country. The Department of Weights and Measures, we're a government agency. It's our responsibility to see that all the scales measure a kilogram accurately. So this is the weight we use to adjust the scale.
How did you check the scales before?
We have an old standard weight that we used to use. It had to be replaced because it was imprecise. You see, it was made of poor quality metal that was too porous. It absorbed too much moisture.
Oh, so when the weather was humid, it weighed more, and when it was dry, it weighed less.
Exactly. And that variation can affect the standards of the whole country. So our department had the new weight made out of higher quality metal.
How much did it cost?
About $45,000.
$45,000 for a 1 kilogram weight? That's more expensive than gold. Is it really worth that much?
I'm sure it is. Industries depend on our government agency to monitor the accuracy of scales, so that when they buy and sell their products, there's one standard. Think of the drug industry, for example. Those companies rely on high accuracy scales to manufacture and package medicine.
Number 31. What is the conversation mainly about? Number 32. How is the weight used? Number 33. Why was it necessary to replace the old standard weight? Number 34. What does Dr. Thomas probably think about the cost of the new weight? Questions 35 through 38. Listen to a conversation between a student and a professor.
Elizabeth Martin speaking.
Dr. Martin, my name's Mark Johnson. My roommate, Benjamin Jones, is in your art history class. Art history 502?
Yes.
Well, he's sick and won't be in your class today. He asked me to bring his term paper to your office.
Okay. The paper's due by 3 o'clock.
I have a class from 1 to 2. I'll bring it to your office after my class.
Well, I have a meeting this afternoon, so you can drop it off with the secretary of the art history department. She'll see that I get it.
Okay. Oh, and I almost forgot. I'm a biology major, but my advisor told me that I need one more humanities course to graduate. I noticed you're teaching a course on landscape painters next semester. Could you tell me a little bit about it?
Sure. Well, it's a course for non-art majors. We'll be looking at several different painters and examining their works. We'll also look at the history and politics of the era in which they lived.
That sounds interesting. What else is required?
There's no final exam, and there's only one required book. But each student has to give a major presentation about an individual painter at the end of the course.
It sounds good. Will you be in your office later today? I'd like to talk with you some more.
Well, my meeting's scheduled to last all afternoon. Why don't you stop by tomorrow, anytime in the afternoon? My office is in the Fine Arts building right next to the library.
Thanks. I'll do that.
Number 35. Why does the man call the woman? Number 36. What does the man almost forget to do? Number 37. What will students be required to do in the course the woman describes? Number 38. What does the woman suggest the man do?
Part C. Directions. On this part of the test, you will hear several talks. After each talk, you will hear some questions. Neither the talks nor the questions will be repeated. After you hear a question, read the 4 possible answers in this book and choose the best one. Then, on your answer sheet, find the number of the question and fill in the space that corresponds to the letter of the answer you have selected.
Now we will begin Part C with the first talk. Questions 39 through 42. Listen to part of a talk in an architecture class.
As you probably know, log structures are gaining in popularity. They are no longer just the simple country homes that we think of as the traditional log cabin. Some upscale homes now incorporate natural round logs in ceiling beams and walls. People seem to think the rounded logs give their homes a cozy, warm atmosphere. And even people who want to build a traditional log cabin on their own can buy a kit with pre-cut logs that fit together like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. Before showing you some slides of modern log houses, I'd like to give a little historical background on the subject. Log cabins were first built in the late 1600s along the Delaware River Valley. The European immigrants who settled there brought centuries-old traditions of working with logs, and in this heavily wooded area, logs were the material at hand. Log cabins were most popular in the early 1800s with the settlers who were moving west. They provided the answer to the pioneers' need for a safe and sturdy home that an ordinary family could build quickly. They had dirt floors and sliding boards for windows. But the log buildings that have probably had most influence on modern architects are those of the mountain retreats of wealthy New Yorkers. These country houses, which were popular in the early 1900s, typify what's known as the Adirondack style. Now let's look at those slides.
Number 39. What is the speaker mainly discussing? Number 40. According to the speaker, what gives modern log homes their warm atmosphere? Number 41. Why did early settlers use logs for building homes? Number 42. According to the speaker, why were log cabins especially popular with settlers who moved west? Questions 43 through 46. Listen to part of a talk given in a geography class.
The Old Canada Road is a long-lost trail between the Canadian province of Quebec and Maine in the northeast corner of the United States. Yes, it really was lost, and finding it again was a complex process that involved state-of-the-art technology. How the location of the road was pinpointed was very interesting, and I'll return to it as soon as I've given you a little background information. The road was begun in 1817, a few years before Maine even became a state. At the time, Quebec was a major market for livestock, crops, and fish, so a road to Quebec was seen by officials in Maine as necessary for trade. For about 20 years, the movement of people and goods was mostly from Maine to Quebec, but then the trend reversed as thousands of Canadians immigrated to Maine to escape poor crops, a lack of jobs, and the threat of disease. I think it was a cholera epidemic. Besides these negative reasons, major building projects in Maine also made the state very attractive for the Canadians who needed work. I should stress, though, that immigration during that period went in both directions. In fact, the flow of people and goods went completely unhindered. There wasn't even a border post until around 1850. The people of the time saw Maine and Quebec as a single region, mainly because of the strong French influence, which is still evident in Maine today. Eventually, the road fell into disuse as a major railway was completed. Finally, people simply forgot about it, and that's how it came to be lost. This brings me back to the original topic.
Number 43. What does the speaker say about the early road between Maine and Quebec? Number 44. What is one reason Canadians began immigrating to Maine during the 1800s? Number 45. What can be inferred about the region including Maine and Quebec during the early 1800s? Number 46. What subject is the speaker most likely to discuss next? Questions 47 through 50. Listen to a lecture being given in a college class.
Okay, in the last class, we talked about the classification of trees, and we ended up with a basic description of angiosperms. You remember that those are plants with true flowers and seeds that develop inside fruits. The common broadleaf trees we have on campus fall into this category, but our pines don't. Now, I hope you all followed my advice and wore comfortable shoes, because as I said, today we're going to do a little field study. To get started, let me describe a couple of the broadleaf trees we have in front of us. I'm sure you've all noticed this big tree next to Brant Hall. It's a black walnut that must be 80 feet tall. As a matter of fact, there's a plaque identifying it as the tallest black walnut in the state. And from here, we can see the beautiful archway of trees at the Commons. They're American elms. The ones along the Commons were planted when the college was founded 120 years ago. They have the distinctive dark green leaves that look lopsided because the two sides of the leaf are unequal. I want you to notice the elm right outside Jackson Hall. Some of its leaves have withered and turned yellow, maybe due to Dutch elm disease. Only a few branches seem affected so far, but if this tree is sick, it'll have to be cut down. Well, let's move on, and I'll describe what we see as we go.
Number 47. What are the students going to do during this class period? Number 48. In what class is this lecture probably being given? Number 49. What is remarkable about the black walnut tree outside Brant Hall? Number 50. What is the problem with the elm tree near Jackson Hall?